be able to.
Okay. Awesome. Okay, I think we're ready to start.
Yeah, and that's better if you keep, because of the recording, you can mute us if you like, so the recording will go only to you. Otherwise, the video comes to my face. If you, you have to use the video for your purposes, for studio teaching, just unmute us. So it's only you teaching, so you have a nice class.
Okay, so
I don't see you are recording though. Are you
recording? I am recording. Yeah, I am recording. Yeah.
Okay, because I don't see. Okay, so I unmute myself, okay?
Yeah. All right. So, but if you know, if you have any questions, just raise your hand, and then we'll you know, we can just go on like that. Okay. So let's just start again with the sound of Om 3 times, just to begin the practice. Fix your mind on God alone. Rest your mind on God alone. And in God you will live hereafter. Of this there is no doubt. May all beings everywhere be happy and free from suffering, and enjoy this practice through our senses. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. So, thank you so much for coming. And so I just want to get a feeling, how much do you know about music? Like, do you know the concept of octaves and stuff like that? Do you know the keys of the harmonium? No? A little bit, kind of. Okay, that's okay, that's fine. So I'm just going to explain a little bit of theory first, just before we get into it. So I'm just going to tip my harmonia up a little bit. So notice how there's a set of like 3, you can't see it at the bottom. So there's a set of 3 black keys, followed by 2, followed by 3, followed by 2, and there would be a black key here, but like since I have a short harmonium, like it would, like there would normally be a black here as well. But on your octave, depending on how big your harmonium is, you would have like multiple sets of these 3 and 2 black keys, right? So these are called octaves. So if you take a look at this, there's this key here, like I'll tip it up a little bit higher so you can see. Okay, so just to the left of the black key, there's 2 white keys, right? Like this. So the one closest to the black key is called C. All right. And if you go to the next one in the same position, so if you go to the next white key that's near the black key, to the left of the black key, that is an octave. All right. So when you play it, that is a middle C, and then that is a high C. Okay, so if you played those 2 notes together, that would sound like basically the same sound, except a little bit higher. So it almost sounds like one voice, but one's higher, you know, one's higher in pitch. If you were to play something like, it doesn't sound like the same sound, right? It sounds different. But so that is an octave because it's like the same voice almost, right? So that is what we call an octave. So there's, and it basically goes all the way up on the keys in between. So this is a C, and then D, if you just shift to the right of that, and then E, and right next to the E is F, like another white key, and then G, A, B. Oh, sorry, that was out of key, but I was too. That's a B and C. Okay, so again, C. Unfortunately, it's kind of backwards, but it would be go C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and now you're back to C again. Okay, so those are basically the letter notes for the keys. And and then there's so a C to D, like most of the keys in between, like they're one tone apart, and a tone can be broken up into many different like subdivisions. Like you can go like halfway to the tone kind of thing. So basically these black keys are a half tone in between the C and the D. So it would be C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, and F. There's no black key in between, so E and F are actually just a half tone apart. And then F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B, and D. Okay? So each of these black keys, so I'll play you that now, and you can play along too if you want. So we'll go C. I'm playing the black note right beside it. C sharp. D. D sharp. E. E. F. F sharp. G. G sharp. A sharp, B, and C. Okay? So how these matter is like you come into different key signatures sometimes. And so sometimes you're playing just on white notes, sometimes you're playing on a mix of black notes and white notes just to get the chord, you know. So each, depending what key you're playing in, like you have to like in order for the scale, it will always sound the same, but you're playing on different notes. You're starting on a different key, you know. So this is a C major scale. C major has no sharps or no flats. So a flat, by the way, is the same. A black key has two names basically. Like this note beside the C is called C sharp because it's higher, but it can also be called D flat. Flat makes it lower, and the flat lowers the tone, but it's still going to sound like the same note, right? So whether you call it C sharp or D flat, it's the same thing. And it's the same with all the rest of these keys, okay? So if you were to play a C major scale, it would go C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. There's no black keys at all. And it's the easiest key, obviously, to play in because you don't have to worry about black notes. So let's just play that. So it goes C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Okay? If you played it on starting on the next note on D, so D is the one like just to the right of the white key right next to C. If you were to play it with no sharps, it would sound like this. It would not sound the same. So notice how a few of those notes didn't sound the same, like it has a different quality. So if you played, but if you played on D, kind of sounds a little bit sad, right? It sounds quite a little bit different, but if you're to put it in the right key signature, it would sound the same as what we just did on C. So it's got the same type of sound, but it just starts in a different place on the keyboard. So this is what the key signatures are for, like the black keys. They will put you in a different, you can play it starting on a different note, but you can still make it sound the same, just higher or lower, like pitch. Okay, so that's why you have the black keys. So for now, we're just going to concentrate on a C major, just because it's a little bit easier. You just have white keys, and you can build chords using all the white keys, just like you can build chords on any key, right? So chord is basically, it's just basically a few notes to make up a sound. So that's a chord, right? It consists of three, like in this case, it's 3 notes. This is a 4-note chord. So it's got a blend of sounds, right? That make it sound fuller. Like if you're just to play, oops. Notice how that kind of makes it sound a little bit more interesting, more full. So that's what we use chords for. Now, when you're starting, you don't have to worry about chords. Like they'll come eventually, but eventually you want to be able to play on chords just to make it sound nicer and fuller, right? So, like for instance, like if you take the, Hanuman Bolo, the tune that we sing sometimes in Dharma Yoga Center, it's like, if you just play on the white keys, like just one note at a time, you go, Hanuman Bolo, Hanuman Bolo, Jai Sita Ram, Jai Jaya Hanuman. But if you added in the other notes to make C major chord and F major chord, it would sound like this. Hanuman Bolo, Hanuman Bolo, Jai Sita Ram, Jai Jaya Hanuman. And basically, when you're singing, like when you start to add in harmonies, like a choir, if everybody starts on a different note of that chord, it's going to sound good. It's going to sound like you're in tune. It's going to sound pleasant. If they're kind of playing on if they're singing on a different note other than those chords, it's going to sound not quite right. It's like, when you say someone's off tune or off key, that's sort of what it means, right? So any questions so far? Is everything okay? Yeah? Okay. So what else can I teach you? So do you know how basically a harmonium works? Like you just pump it and, okay. So, also like when you're pumping a harmonium, like the better the harmonium, or usually you shouldn't have to use this too much, right? If you're really pumping this hard to make a sound even, it's because the harmonium is kind of leaky. It's leaking air. So then you have to keep on pumping it to keep the air going through at a constant rate so that the sound sounds not choppy, it's going to sound weird. The sound's going to kind of die out very fast if you have a leaky harmonium, right? So you want to take long strokes basically. So you start way out and then you just kind of close it at an even speed so that you have a consistent sound. Now, if you vary the speed, you're going to change the sound. You're going to make it sound lower or higher, like not lower, louder or softer, right? So, and if you pump it harder, you're going to get that loud sound, right? Like you notice how it went up in volume. But if you close it very slowly, the sound dies down at a very nice, soft rate, and it goes softer and softer and softer. So this is what you want to do sort of at the end of the song, when you try to go into like more of a, how in a kirtan song, a lot of times you start off slow and then you build and you build excitement, so you get louder and louder and louder, and then at the end you back off again, right? You come back to softness. So this is how you use our harmonium to achieve that sound, you know, like. You know, when it's back to closed position, that's when the sound stops, basically, right? So this, every harmonium is a little bit different. So you have to just kind of play with it a little bit just to see what you have to do in order to make the sound, like, you know, louder or softer at what rate you want, you know. So it's just experimenting with the harmonium, basically, and just trying to produce the sound that you want. All right? Okay, so should we move on to some chords now? Can you unmute yourself?
Could you, I would love to learn just the Om, how to sing the Om.
Yeah. Okay, so just like I did at the beginning, maybe?
Yeah, whatever
Okay.
you like, yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
So another thing I want to explain about chords is that there's major chords and minor chords. There's lots of different chords, actually. Guitar, there's tons and tons of different kind of chords with piano. But just to keep it simple, we keep kind of major, minor. That covers most of it. And major is a happy sound. It's a bright sound, like. A minor chord has sort of like a sad sound. You know, see the quality, right? So you achieve that by basically, so if you take C, E, and G, that's a C major chord, okay? So if you try that on your harmonium, C, E, and G. So basically this every second note. So starting on C, you go to, you skip a note, you go to E, you skip a note, and you come to G. So what I'm going to do, just give me a second, I'm going to get my whiteboard. So I'm going to draw a keyboard and I'm going to name the notes, okay? So it makes it a bit easier. Oh, it doesn't work. Okay. Give me a second.
What I did, I stick, you know, some little labels on it,
Yeah.
and I can find my notes A, B,
Perfect.
C.
Okay, yeah, that's perfect. That's what everybody does. Okay, so basically a C chord, a basic C chord is C, E, and G, right? Now, if you take E and you go down to the black note just below it to the left, that's E flat. Okay, it's called E flat or D sharp, but for a C chord, you always kind of thinking like a minor chord, like you would call it E flat in this case. All right, so if you play the black note, that's what it sounds like, right? So, got that? Okay, so that is basically the first ohm that I was playing. Okay, and you can stay on that the whole time. You can play ohm 3 times on that one. If you want to vary it, like the second ohm, I took the G and I went up to G sharp. So that chord is basically, I'll explain that later. But, and then to go to the third ohm, you go back to C, E flat, G. So there's many different ways that you can play ohm, but I like doing that one. Okay, and so that middle one, C, E flat, and G sharp, that is what we call an inversion. So notice how in a C chord, they're like basically every second note apart, they're spaced apart by like one tone, sort of. But in that second one, you got more, right? Like between like the E flat and the G sharp, that's a bigger jump, right? But if you took the G sharp and moved it down an octave, so you play like the G sharp one octave lower, it sounds like it's like a regular chord. It's like what we call a snowman chord, because if you wrote it on the scale, on a staff, if you wrote it on a staff, can you see that? There. I always confuse the camera here. Okay. Yeah. So notice how they're written on every line, basically, right? C, E, and G. If you did an inverted chord, it would look like this. Now you don't have to worry too much about this because you know, you're not writing music necessarily, but notice how that looks a little bit different. Like between the middle chord, the middle and the top note, there's a little bit more space. There's a line and a space, basically, right? So how this matters is that sometimes when you're playing music, when you're playing chords, sometimes it's easier to use an inverted chord because it makes it easier to play because you don't have to move as many fingers, right? So if you were like, so in Hanuman Bolo, for instance, it's made up of two chords, C and F. So if you built a snowman chord on a C, it would be C, E, G, right? If you went up to the F chord, you would start on F, and then you go A and C, right? That's an F chord, the snowman chord, like how you'd write it, like with just one, like one on top of the other. But if you took so basically when you play it, you had to kind of jump your hand around, right? So you go, Hanuman Bolo, Hanuman Bolo, Jai Sita Ram, Jai Jaya Hanuman. And the F sounds quite a bit higher, right? The chord. But if you were to put your hands on the F, put your right hand on the F, A, and C. If you took the C on top, the high C, and you moved it down an octave to start on the same, to start on like basic. So you like F and A stay the same, but now the C is below it, right? So basically, when you play C and first inversion F, it would sound like this. Hanuman Bolo, Hanuman Bolo, Jai Sita Ram, Jai Jaya Hanuman. So notice how my C didn't move. It stayed on the same place, right? As opposed to going this. Hanuman Bolo, and then jumping all the way here. Hanuman Bolo. So when you're playing music and you start to play faster, it's sometimes easy to use your place, and then you sometimes make mistakes if you had to jump your hand around. So at least you have that C is sort of like an anchor. Hanuman bolo, and then your E and your G would move up to the F and A. So you're just moving like, so you're just moving the top two fingers basically, right? So let's say for that song, play C with your thumb, E with your second finger, and G with your fourth finger. That's C or C chord. And then to go to F, play F with your third finger and A with your fifth finger. So you'd be like 1, 2, 4, 1, 3, 5. 1, 2, 4, 1, 3, 5. And the C always stays on a thumb. All right, so that makes it a lot easier to play because you don't lose your place so easily because you're not moving your hand very much. You're just basically lifting your second and fourth finger and just playing the keys beside it with your fingers beside it. So it's very natural movement, right? So this is why I like to explain a little bit of inversions, and it changes the quality of the sound too. Like it knows how it's like kind of sounds all consistent, like kind of like in the same place. But if you went up to the, and it sounds good still, but it brings up into a higher place, right? It sounds a little bit different. So the lower you play on the harmonium, like the lower part of the harmonium is like like more of a warm sound. And if you move up, it's more of a bright sound, right? Like sort of like when you think of the human voice, an alto is always a nice warm sound, a deeper sound, and a soprano is a high sound, you know, like the opera singers that you hear, you know, with a very high voice kind of thing. That's I wasn't trying to sing well, but you know, that's basically the idea of just like singing and playing in your higher range. So it depends again what sound you want. And I know Alfonsina, you have a bigger harmonium than mine do. You have like more octaves. So you can experiment. You can just play, you can still sing down low. Like you can still sing down in this range, but you can play an octave higher. Hanuman Bolo, Hanuman Bolo, Jai Sita Ram, Jai Jaya Hanuman, as opposed to Hanuman Bolo, Hanuman Bolo, Jai Sita Ram, Jai Jaya Hanuman. Notice how that quality changed. Yeah? Okay. So that is basically, those are basically the fundamentals of just chords and how to use chords, rearrange them so that they do what you want, and so that makes it easier to play. So yeah, and so if you were to play that Om, going back to Om, this is your first set of chords on C. Now, if you were to play the middle note, the middle chord, but move the A flat, the G sharp on top down an octave, it would sound like that. So, Om, Om, Om. You can still do it, sounds fine, right? Except it's got a deeper sound, and that's kind of cool too. Like, so it depends on what you want to do, right? So, and that one's pretty easy to play too. Like, so for, if you want to play it that way, you'd start with the thumb on the C, the third finger on the E flat, the fifth finger on G, and then to move to the next one, you would just move your thumb. You move your thumb over onto the G sharp underneath the C, and I would usually play like the second finger on the C and the third finger on the E flat. So it's a little bit more movement, but not really. Like once you lift your pinky off the fifth finger, you have more ability to move your hands, to shift your hand down. and then, so it's just like you tip your hand one way and then you kind of tilt it downward so the thumb can reach the G flat. Okay. Depending on the size of your hand, you don't have to follow these fingerings I'm giving you. This is the fingering that I use, but some people have bigger hands or whatever, so they can, or whatever, so some people have bigger hands. Some people can play the C with the 1, 2, 3 fingers, and then they would play 1, 2, 4 to get to the next key, the next chord, and then back to 1, 2, 3. So there's different ways to play depending on how comfortable it feels for you. Okay, so it's everything, like, when you're playing an instrument, you're trying to make it as efficient as possible, to make it as easy as possible. Because especially when you start to play fast, if you have to, if your hand's really uncomfortable, if it's stretched out really long, whatever, you won't be able to move your fingers fast. So you have to, like in kirtan, you're not going to come into these situations like most of the time, because you're just mostly playing on chords. You're not doing a lot of fancy stuff, right? When you're playing kirtan music, you're just kind of staying solid, like you're kind of droning a sound, right? So you don't have to worry too much. You have lots of time usually to move your hand from chord to chord. So just play whatever feels comfortable, whatever feels natural, and that won't, if you can move your hand less, you have more of a chance of landing your hand in the right place as opposed to dumping your hand all over the place. So, yeah, okay. So I'm going to teach you a few different chords now. There's a few chords that we use a lot in music: C, G, A minor, and F. There's literally millions of songs that are built on those 4 chords. And when I'm writing music, I use those chords a lot because they're easy to play also. And it's easy to switch between those chords on a harmonium especially, and a guitar too. So when I'm thinking about my musicians who play guitar, I'm trying to use chords that are easy for them to play too. So C, G, A minor, and F, okay? So I'll just show you, I showed you the C chord already, and C minor, right? That's called C minor with the E flat. And every major chord can basically be played as a minor chord. You just lower the third note, the second note in the chord. So C, C, E, G goes down to C, E flat, G. If you're playing D major, it goes C, F sharp, and A. To make it minor, you just move down to C, D, F, the white key, and A. Okay, so you're just lowering the middle note basically down by like a semitone. So like whether it's a black key or a white key. So that's how you make a minor chord. So I'll teach you now those chords I talked to you about, and I'll give you the minor chord to go with it. So usually when I write chords, like next workshop, I'll probably give you some music, some song sheets, and then what I would do is, like, like let's say Hanuman Bolo. I'm just so Hanuman Bolo, I would write it C, E, G, C, F, A. So it's, so on Hanuman, I have C, E, G over the word Hanuman, and C is a bottom note, E is a middle note, and G is a top note. So this is how you play it on your harmonium. And when you go to bolo, you have C, F, and A. And so, sorry, it's all backwards to you. But anyways, C is a bottom note. The lowest note closer to the word is always the bottom note, your root, you call it. And then F and A are like, you just play those notes. So then you could just basically look at your keyboard and figure it out. And you know, this is why it's nice to have a recording of the video so that you can sort of see how to play them, right? So this is a C major, that's a C minor. Okay, so C, E minor, G. I'm going to tip my harmonium up so you can see a little bit better. Okay, so let's go to G now. We start on G. G is also made of just white keys because there's only one sharp in it, that's F sharp. So if you're to play this G scale, it would sound like this. There's that F sharp. Okay? So F sharp, you have to play that F sharp in order for it to sound like a major key. So the G chord is G, B, and D. Yeah? It's like those three keys here. G, B, and D. All right, now if you were to invert it, do different inversions. If you want to do first inversion, you would take the top G, I'm gonna move down an octave, okay? G, B, and D. If you want to do first inversion, you take the bottom G and put it on top, higher. So it start on, in the first inversion, we start on B, and then you'd play D, and then you'd play G on top. That's a first inversion. And you can invert it again. You can take the bottom note, the B, and put it on top. So then you start on a D. D, G is now the middle note, and the B is on top. Okay? So every chord you can do this. You can just basically just move the bottom note up an octave or down an octave, whatever. Okay, so usually it's, you talk inversions, you move the bottom note up an octave. So that's your G. Now, G minor, you would make the B a B flat, right? The middle note drops down to the F, the B flat, like the black key just to the left of the B. Okay. So that's the G chord and the G minor chord and its inversions. Yeah? Patricia, all good? Okay, so F now. F is another nice one. It's only got one. So some scales are written in terms of sharps, some are written in terms of flats. So for F, you would, the black key in it, we call that B flat. Okay, so if you're to play a scale F, so F, G, A, B flat, the black key there, and then C, D, E, F. Okay, so that's your scale for F major. And if you were to take the chord now, F chord, it would be F, A, and C. F, A, C. Right? F minor would basically, you would drop the A down to an A flat. So you just move to the back key just adjacent to it, just below it. That's your F minor. Okay? And again, if you want to invert the chord to go to first inversion, you would now start on the A, you play the C, and you play the bottom F up an octave. That's your first inversion. And of course, the second inversion, you would move now the A above to an octave above. So you'd start on C, and then you play the F and the A. So that's your second inversion. So in your Hanuman Bolo, you're actually the second, like to play it the easiest way, the most efficient way is to do the second inversion, right? Your thumb stays rooted, C, E, G, and then you play C, F, A. And you notice the second version because like the root note of the chord, which is the F chord, is the middle note. So that's sort of a little bit of a hint as to how to find a second inversion. Like you make it so that the root note, the chord that it's supposed, the note that's supposed to start on is the middle note of the chord. So I'll draw this first. So if I were to draw this on a scale again, so I got it on the paper now, just a sec. So this one, I'm always, okay, so the one here is a root, right? And if you move to the first inversion, there's a little bit more space between the second and third notes. There's a line and like it goes to this space above the line. And if you were to go to the second inversion, now there's more space between the bottom and the top two notes. So there's always two notes that are close together and one that's a little bit further apart. So depending on what inversion you're at, that's how it would look like on the staff paper. But for most stuff that we're playing, like, I mean, you just need like, you just need to know the names of the chords, and then you can just sort of play around what works for you, okay? So that we finished on F, right? So you had F, F, A, C. That's your F minor chord, F, A flat, C, right? And your inversions, you would build them basically. You move the bottom note, start on A, and then you start on C. So that was your F. The next one we're going to do is A minor. A minor, you start on A, below the C, and then you play the C and the E. So I'm not gonna get too much into the technicalities of this. Like A minor has the same, it's called a relative minor of C major. So it's got the same key signature as C, basically. So to find a relative minor, you go down one full tone and a semitone. So a full tone from C is from C to B flat, and then B flat to A is your other semitone. So that's how, like, you know, that's I won't get too much into it, but that's how you find a relative minor, and that just means that it has the same key signature. So A minor is A, C, E. Notice how that sounds sad, right? If you want to build an A major chord, you just augment the C, you play the black note just above it, like just beside it. That's an A major. Okay, so A minor again, if you want to invert it, your bottom A would move up an octave, so then you'd be playing C, E, and A minor. And then if you want to invert it again, you take the C and you put up an octave, so then you'd be playing, the first version is C, E, and A, and then the second version would be like E, A, and C. So a nice exercise is to actually, you can play what we call an arpeggio. You play them all broken, like you play each note of the chord. So it would go A, C, E, and then you move to the version C, C, E, A, and then E, A, C, and then A, C, E. So it's like you're playing like it's all the same chord except you're just playing through the different versions, and that kind of gets you sort of used to like the keys in the chord. All right, so that was A minor and A major. And now C, F, G, A minor. Those are the main chords. Other ones that are popular, D major and D minor. So D major has 2 sharps in the key signature. So if you play it a straight scale, you'd sharp the F and the C. So it's a C sharp, B, A, G, F sharp, E, and D. To build the D chord, it'd be D, F sharp, A. And to make it minor, you just drop the F sharp down to the F, all white keys. Okay, so it's in D minor. Okay, and then E minor is another one. I'm going through the chords mostly that are easy to play on a guitar as well. So that if you ever have someone playing guitar with you, like they'll be able to play these chords a little bit more easily. E minor, you start on E, G, and B. That's E minor. And to make it major, you go to the G, the middle note would go up a semitone to the G sharp. So you just move, you just play the black note just right above the G. Okay. And so those are the main chords, and those are like, you know, to start, that's probably a lot, you know, to work with. So yeah, just get used to those chords, and then when you know, eventually, like when you look at music, a song sheet, usually like if you look at like a guitar chord sheets, like lyrics, like they'll have like a line of music, like lyrics, and then above that usually there's like C or F or G above certain notes or whatever, and that just tells you what chord to sing on or to play on. And once you know the basics of the chords, you can just, it's easy to play. Like you just read the music like that. And but for the stuff that I'll give you, I'll actually write out like which notes make up the C chord, which notes make up the G chord, whatever. And I'll usually, they're not always going to be starting on like the root, like it's not always going to start on F. If it's an F chord, it sometimes might start on the C because it's easier to play, right? So I'll give you whatever, like I usually know my notations usually like C and C subscript first, which means first inversion. So that means you would play the F, A, the E, G, C chord, like the first inversion. Or like, you know, I'll go F second, which means F second inversion. So that means like the C would be on the bottom, the F would be in the middle, and the A would be on top. But I'll write those out for you. Okay. So any questions?
I have a question about the harmonium. I was
Yep.
wondering how you maintain it, and what are those knobs for? And there's like a lot of knobs.
Yeah. So I usually these are just like you have to basically open the valves. So those what the knobs are for. So for mine, and some of them they have different effects. Like harmoniums are a little bit different, and some are more complicated than others. So this is a very basic harmonium. It's a travel harmonium, so it's made small, so it doesn't have as many bells and whistles on it. So the first two are the ones that I pull out, and that's what opens the valves, all the valves that I need. Some valves, if you open them up, sometimes they'll sort of like play a note, like sort of like a drone of a certain note. So it depends on your harmonium. Like you can just play with them and just kind of see what kind of sound it produces. But usually there's one or two valve, like the first some that are pull out, and you have to sort of ask your manufacturer or like where you got the harmonium from to figure out which valves to open, which ones to pull out in order to get it work, right? You are lucky. Oh, actually, you're in Vancouver. Sorry. I bought my harmonium in Toronto, and they have someone on site all the time. I'll give you the address, the website, because they have a really good technical service guy working, and you call them or you use they have a web form, I think, that you can submit, and he'll set up a Skype session with you a lot of times, and he'll walk you through a lot of things. If there's something going on, like if you hear something rattling or something, or a note stuck or whatever, if you can't get to anywhere close that repairs harmoniums, they would normally walk you through and tell you open things, and they'll walk you through the process of trying to troubleshoot your harmonium. So they say that if you play it at least once a week, if you play it consistently, that's how you keep it in tune. If you just kind of leave it and you just kind of don't leave it in, if you leave it sort of in a dry place, it's not you should have about a 50% humidity level wherever you're storing your instrument, so that things don't dry out, because when reeds dry out, it's going to go out of tune and cause a few different problems, right? Also, you never leave your harmonium kind of in your car, sitting in your car, when it's cold out or whatever, and when it's damp. So you just try to keep a relatively constant, even humidity level for your instrument to keep it in good shape. And yeah, so this guy, it's called Kalikandar. It's a website, and you can order instruments. They've got a whole range of instruments, Indian musical instruments as well. It's in Toronto, and it's really good. They've got a guy there who's really, really knowledgeable. So yeah, you don't have to do too much with a harmonium. Mine also has this feature. It's a muter, basically. So if you open it up, I just slide it, it opens it up, and the sound's going to be louder. So if you don't want the sound to be as loud, you just close it, and then it will mute it a little bit. It will make it sound lower. I don't have a very loud voice, so I tend to play on this setting a lot. If you're playing outside or whatever, you might want to open it up. I don't know if some harmoniums have it. I think probably a lot of them do. It's just you just slide it. What else? Some have scale shifters. So my old harmonium, I have another harmonium that has this other thing, this shifter, where it would even if this harmonium only has basically almost 2.5 octaves, but the scale shifter, when you have it, it can play it an octave above without moving your hands. You play the notes, but it will sound an octave higher. So not all harmoniums have it. Alfonsina, I'm not sure. Do you have a scale shifter on yours? Do you know? No? Okay, yeah. It comes on, it's not really a necessary feature, you know, like a lot of people don't bother using it. Especially if you concert harmonium like that, like usually this is, like I said, is a travel harmonium, so it's got a shorter range, like you know, not as many octaves. If you have a normal full-size concert harmonium, like show yours, Alfonsina. Like yours is like a concert size one, I think, because it's got quite a few. Yeah, it's got 1, 2. It's almost got, yeah. It's almost got like, it's got about 3 octaves there or something, you know.
Yeah, but it's an old one. I bought a used in New York when I was there, but it's run down. And a friend of mine, I would think I had these friends that know how to fix it.
Yeah.
So we went up at the top part, and she made me some little the keys. But it needs to be fixed. But here it's so expensive, so I'm using just the center part.
Yeah.
The octave in the center because they work well, but the one all the way, the higher notes, it doesn't sound.
Yeah, and that's normal because you don't play, usually like 90% of the stuff you play is in that range, the middle part of the range where you're playing.
Yeah.
You don't use the top part stuff because like the voice doesn't go up that high a lot of times, so you don't need to play. So that's why it goes out of tune, because you don't play it, right? So that's typically what happens. It's same with like the piano. I have a piano, and like it's always like the top part of the piano that is always out of tune because I don't play as much up there. So it's the same with the harmonium. So that's why they encourage you to always to play often so that it stays in tune. And yeah, what else can I say about the harmonium? Yeah, but you should check out this website too, Alfonsina. He's pretty good. So if you have any particular problems, like I've known a few other people who have bought harmoniums there, and also you know, got their problems solved that way. If you can't make it down there, because you're both a little bit far from Toronto, but there's probably some place in this that's closer by. There's got to be somewhere in Vancouver, I'm sure. But
yeah. Well, what's the name? I didn't catch the name.
Sorry. I'll send it to you. Yeah, I'll send that information to you. I'm just looking for my chat. Where's the chat window? Oh, here it is. Okay. I think it's, let me just make sure it's right. Kalikandar. Yeah, okay, so it's a really nice store. They've got lots of different instruments. So like the harmonium that I started with, someone gave it to me as a very old one, and it was not a high quality harmonium, and the guy was saying it would cost more to fix it than it's worth, you know, like, so I ended up buying another harmonium because he said it's going to cost you probably $400 to fix at least, so you might as well buy a new harmonium. So yeah, usually you can tell a good quality harmonium, like he was saying that, you know, if they have a label on it, then that's usually because Indians, like they're proud of their work, and if they think it's not so good, they're not going to put their name to it because it's you know. So if they're proud of it, they're going to want to show it off, and they want to promote it, right? If they're not so proud of it, it's a cheap thing, they probably won't. So yeah, mine was one of those. And someone tried to tried to fix it on their own, and it was very, very leaky, so it was not the greatest instrument. So this harmonium cost me about $600 to $700 Canadian. They can go up pretty high though. Like, you know, like a concert harmonium like yours, like your size Alfonsina would probably be closer to like 1,200 maybe or so.
What?
But you
That
can
was
probably get something cheaper too. Like you can probably get like somewhere from 900, 800 or 900, I'm thinking. But it won't have that many bells and whistles on it. Like maybe like a more of a basic model. But yeah, check out the website.
yeah.
They've got lots of different things there, and they've got used harmoniums too that they refurbish, I guess. So you know, if you can't afford a new harmonium, they've got some old ones too, used ones, and they're probably decent. Like, cause I'm like they probably fix them on site, so they're probably still reasonable quality because they don't want to put out anything that's going to make them look bad, right? So, so yeah, that's yeah, you can do a lot. Like you don't have to like unless so if you sense it's out of tune, there's some tuning apps on your phone that you can find that are like just tuners, and like you can just place, if you play a C on your harmonium, and it'll show you basically if you're where you're sitting, like if it's actually bang on or if it's kind of lower or higher. Like there's apps that you can use that will tell you if your instrument's in or out of tune, and that's how you would know basically. Yeah. What else can I tell you about this?
Justine, would you send us the recording video?
Yes, absolutely.
So that while you talk, I can also watch where you had your hands.
Yeah, I just I didn't even think about it, but yeah, like it looks like, you know, since it's like a mirror image, so everything looks backwards, you know, to you, but like you should be able to, like, you know, hopefully it'll be not too hard. Like when you put the stickers on your notes, then you'll be able to, you know, when I say a C, you know where the C is, and you can find it easily if you put your stickers on your keys. So yeah, everyone does the same thing, by the way. A lot of people start off that way. They have stickers on their keys, so it's nothing to be ashamed of or embarrassed of. That's how people learn. I happen to have a piano background, so it was pretty. It's not so hard for me to, like, you know, it's easy for me to go to the harmonium because it's the same thing. So, but yeah, definitely I'll send this out. I'll probably upload this to my my environment and world mastery. I'm assuming that at some point it's going to work. I'm hoping that at some point it's going to work, but I don't know what's going on with it right now. It's really weird. So yeah, if you guys start teaching on that and you experience any issues, or if you manage to get it work, let me know. I had to figure out something for tomorrow. Because I'm not sure if they're going to get back to me. I think it's a holiday, so nobody's working. I didn't hear back from them yesterday, so.
Justine, if you like, I can host you with Zoom.
Are you sure?
Of course.
Thank
What time
you
it
so
is?
much.
Oh, it's not.
Same time, 11 o'clock it starts.
Yes, of course.
Okay, that'd be wonderful.
It's
Thank
not
you
a
so
problem.
much.
Yeah, it's not a problem if because I'm not working, so it's fine.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, we can do. You become the host, so you have all the control.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah, maybe we can use the same ID that we have today. We can use the same one if you like.
Okay, I'll send out a message to people because yeah, like I don't think it's gonna be fixed by tomorrow. Like
No.
I think they're on vacation or whatever. Like I haven't gotten any answer back from the support. So yeah.
Okay. Okay. Or otherwise, I can create a meeting just for you, and then if you need it, you can use it. With I mean, you can keep that. That's just for you.
Oh, thank you.
Because this was a general one, so I'm just wondering if in case somebody of my students come in and just walk in.
Yeah.
But they're on vacation. But let's do that. I'll create a meeting with the link for you, so that you can use
it for anything, basically. Awesome. Thank you. That's wonderful.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
So anything else? Is there anything else you want to go over? Like, do you want to learn a song or whatever? Like, I'm happy to do anything for you. So if there's any songs, for instance, that you want to, that you'd like to learn, Hanuman Bolo was the easiest one, right? Like it's 2 chords, C and F. And I'm trying to think of other songs that have just C and F. Yeah, there's a lot of songs like on those C, F, A minor, and G. There are so many songs built on those 4 chords. So as when you get used to them, you can build so many different songs. Like I don't know if you know the Krishna Das sings it. Rupam Day, Jayam Day, Yashodai Drisho Jai Rupam Day, Jayam Day, Yashodai Drisho Jai. I want to know what love is. Want you to show me. I want to feel what love is. I know you can show me. So those chords were C, G, A minor, and F in that order. So if you take your sheet, like if you take your, you know how to build your chords, you'd play C first, and then you'd play G, I call it first inversion, G first inversion, and then A, root, A minor, and then F, second inversion. That's how you'd play that one. I'm trying to think of other rhythms. But we'll get into like songs probably in the next one. Like the next workshop, I'll probably concentrate more on like the different chants that we do a lot at the Dharma Yoga Center. And I'll try to have like the sheets ready so you can have the sheets, like I'll send them out beforehand so that you can play along and they'll be a little bit easier to look at. But you know, once you have the knowledge of the chords, it makes it a lot easier to play as opposed to just try to learn like the chords and learn how to do the chords like while you're trying to learn the chants. It's a lot. So if you had that knowledge before you go in, it's a lot easier. So this is why I sort of had this workshop before so that I can explain the basics of that. So yeah.
I have a question. The chords for Hanuman Bolo, you say it's C, E, G,
Yeah.
and then E, F, E.
The F would be, I was playing C, F, and A. So C, E, G.
C, E, G, yes.
And then C, F, A.
A for apple. That's why it sounds bad to me. Okay,
Yeah.
So.
No problem.
A.
And that is, so that was a second inversion F. That's what it's called. It's the F chord basically, but the second inversion. And I'm trying to think of other things I might have missed. Yeah, so I will send the video once it's ready, and then like you can take a look at it whenever. And if there's any, sometimes questions arise as like, you know, when you look at it, it's like, oh, well, what about this? How did you do that? Just feel free, please, to just, you know, contact me. I could also hold this one again. Like I probably will hold it again just because people missed it. So I might have like I have one that's scheduled on January 2nd. I might end up doing this one again, depending on how many people are familiar with the music. If they're all experts, then I'll go into the chants. If not, then I would probably go over at least some of this again. So, and yeah, it's sometimes a little overwhelming when you know, if you don't have a music background and you're just trying to figure things out. Yeah, but I'm hoping that this helps a little bit.
Yes. Thank you so much, Justine. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. It was super helpful because Adam gave me chords for Ganesh, but it didn't make sense. And I realized I think there's an inversion that you were saying.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is super helpful.
Yeah, for Ganesha, actually, the one Jai Ganesha, that one.
Yeah.
Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha, Shri Ganesha, Shri Ganesha, Shri Ganesha, So the easiest way is to just stay on C the whole time, or you can just go Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha, Mahimam. It goes to C, F, A, that's the F chord. And then Shri Ganesha, Shri Ganesha, Shri Ganesha, Rakshamam. Or you can play A minor, Shri Ganesha, Rakshamam, but A minor makes it sound a little bit sad, so. So you can either, for the Rakshamam, like the second part, Shri Ganesha, Shri Ganesha, you can either go back to the F, Shri Ganesha, Rakshamam, back to the C for Rakshamam, or you can play the Shri Ganesha on G, and then back to Rakshaman on a C. So there's a few different ways to play it. So it goes Jai Ganesha on C, C on Jai Ganesha on the third one, then goes up to F on the Pahimam. So that would play C, F, A, and then Shri Ganesha back to C, Shri Ganesha, and then the third Shri Ganesha, you could either go up to the F again, F, C, F, A, or you can go down to the G, a second, first inversion. So it'd be B, D, G, Shri Ganesha, and then back to Rakshamam on the C.
C. When you say C, what is it? C and then?
C, E, G.
Oh, it's a C, E, G. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Yes. So we can practice this too.
Yeah.
Hanuman also on Namah Shivaya maybe plays also on the C, E, G, right?
Yeah, Om Namah Shivaya. There's so many Om Namah Shivayas. Like there's like Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. That one is the C, C, E, G, and then the Om Namah Shivaya, the second Om Namah Shivaya would be A minor, so A, C, E. And the third Om Namah Shivaya would be the F, A, C, F chord. And then Om Namah, the fourth one would be on the G, G, B, D. And when you go back to Shivaya, it would be back to C, E, G. So Om Namah Shivaya. So C, A minor, F, G, C. So there's this faster transition between like the last two chords. That G back to C is fast. So Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. So that's how that one would sound.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So again, like this will be easier when you look at the recording again. But yeah.
We can practice on this.
yeah, you got the Om, you got the Hanuman Bolo, you have Om Namah Shivaya, and you have Ganesha. That's a lot. So,
Yeah. Great. Okay. Thank you, then, and thank you so much, Justine.
oh, you're very, very welcome. Anything else?
It's fine.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you again, Alfonsina. I really, really appreciate this. You
Oh,
have
for
a favor. I was like, yeah, yesterday after I did my experiments, I was like, oh, this is not good. I hope it works miraculously tomorrow, but it did not. So you can get in, Patricia. So what like
I think like I just hadn't logged in. I had updated my computer, and
Okay.
so I couldn't log into World Mastery in general
Okay.
because I hadn't really used it since like for like 2 weeks, I guess. Yeah, so I had to redo my password.
Okay.
Me too.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, it's weird. I don't know what's going on there. I'm like there's no way to control, like, you know, like when you're hosting Zoom, you can control all the people, like, you know, like the mute and unmute and all that kind of stuff in the video, but you can't do that. There's no, I don't see a way of doing it in like the World Mastery thing. So I like, it's like I couldn't see people coming in, and I couldn't hear anybody at all the whole time. So I don't know what's going on there. So I don't know if everyone else has that problem, but yeah. So hopefully that will be figured out at some point. But okay, so I will get that recording to you, and thank you so much again for your interest. I'm really excited that I have people who are actually interested in these. So
Thank you so much. This is amazing.
Pleasure.
Yes, thank you for your time. It is great. Yeah.
My pleasure. So yeah, so maybe see you tomorrow if you're taking a workshop. This backbending.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah, Justine, I asked you, I wrote you on the email if I could invite
Yes. Yeah,
the teacher.
absolutely.
Right? Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and like any other yeah, I wasn't sure whether to put in the Dharma Yoga Love one. I was thinking about announcing on that, but like it's just there's other, I don't know if it's open to everybody or not. So this was mostly meant for like the Dharma Yoga teaching community, to help them in their practice and to help them with their teaching. Like it, so yeah, I was that's why I was wondering, and like it was also last minute, so I didn't want to just, you know, and if it didn't work, I was afraid of this Zoom thing not working, so I was kind of apprehensive about putting it on and like not having even more people realize that it doesn't work. So until I get it sorted out, at least. But yes, if you and same goes for you, Patricia, if you know other Dharma yoga teachers or really, you know, steadfast followers of the practice who might benefit from these workshops, you can send them the link. It's totally, I have no problem with that.
Yeah.
So I just
create the link shortly, and then I will put on the group. Or I will send it to you, Justine, and then you figure out what to do.
Okay.
That's better. I send it privately to you, and then you figure it out. Yeah.
Okay, that sounds good. All right. Thank you again.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye, Patricia.
Thank
you. Justine.
you.
Can we just end with an Om actually?
Of course.
Shanti, Be receptive to the grace of God. Namaste.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful day.
You too.
Bye-bye.